The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene and you are listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Today we have a Japanese researcher. His name is Tsukasa Iga. He's actually a research fellow at the Center for Southeast Asia Study, or CSEAS, at Kyoto University, Japan. So welcome to the studio. So Iga, today we're going to talk about a topic that is currently a huge, issue within the Selangor area. It's actually about the Selangor Menteri Besar crisis. And our focus today is more on Khalid Ibrahim and PKR's problematic power structure. Before we start our discussion today, maybe can you share with us your background in Southeast Asia studies, as well as perhaps your interests in Malaysian politics?
Yes, I came from the Center for Southeast Asian Studies, Kyoto University. The center is the multidisciplinary studies centers. So in these centers, there are many researchers on scientists, sociologists, and then political scientists. They collaborate each other. My interest is politics and the media in Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia and Malaysia. So I'm not only the media, I'm interested in the media and the social movement and the post-Mahathir era's Malaysian politics.
So coming back to the Selangor crisis, when you first heard about the crisis where, there's a huge squabble between the Khalid Ibrahim camp and then the Anwar camp, what came into your mind?
Actually, my perspective is maybe a bit different. So I'm seeing this crisis is a more structural problem of the PKR or the PR, opposition parties. So because the Anwar Ibrahim didn't lead the political parties, PKR, in the official position. The problem is Anwar Ibrahim didn't lead the PKR with official position. So if he is Menteri Besar of the Selangor, or he is the president having the official position in the PKR, so this crisis, especially if he is the Menteri Besar of the Selangor, this crisis didn't happen. So the problem of the structural problem of the PKR is always the unelected the leaders, means a charismatic unelected leader. Anwar Ibrahim, lead the parties. He didn't be elected by the elections, but he has enormous powers and the owner of the PKR. Mm-hmm. Then the Khalid Ibrahim, actually from the beginning, it seems like the employed the managers. Then the owner is the Anwar Ibrahim.
When you say Khalid Ibrahim was employed as a manager, if you want to put it in a metaphoric form, what was his role and his level of power at that time as a Menteri Besar of Selangor?
Actually, he seems like he is seen as a technocrat, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't have any basis inside the PKR. Mm-hmm. Then he managed Selangor as managers, as economic managers, as company managers.
Mm-hmm. When he took the role of the Menteri Besar of Selangor a few years, a couple of years back.
Since 2008.
A couple of years back. What was in his, I would say, expectation to do? Was he being expected to play the role of a politician? Or was he, has already been sort of stereotyped to be this person who manages Menteri Besar, to manage the Selangor affairs as the Menteri Besar Selangor, and that's it?
Yes, he is expected, how can I say, puppet of the Anwar, right? Every time, Anwar, maybe Anwar thought, every time, he can change the mental style of the Khalid. So he can influence to the mental style of the Khalid. But after the 5 years, the 6 years, so the mental style of the Khalid got some ambitions and the powers. Then finally he refused to step down. It's a kind of the rebel of the employed managers.
Currently, Khalid Ibrahim has sacked a huge number of
Yes.
state assembly persons
Yes.
from PKR and the AP side, but not from the PAS side. Khalid Ibrahim also has said that he will consult the Sultan and make sure that he will remain as a Menteri Besar. And of course, he will remain as a Menteri Besar until November. What is your opinion or your view on the current situation of Selangor right now?
Actually, current situation of the Selangor is very the uncertain, right? Then for the democratization of the Malaysia, it's very difficult situations because this is normally the issue of the Selangor, but this issue directly related to the composition of the opposition parties.
What is the problem with PKR's power structure right now? When it comes to PKR submitting or presenting the corruption paper without going through the MACC or any official bodies in order for them to implicate the corruption allegation towards Khalid Ibrahim.
My opinion is the corruption issue is the corruption issue of the Menteri Besar is not so the crucial. Actually, always the politicians, if drag down the politicians, other politicians, they use the corruption issues, right?
Or scandals.
Yeah, or scandals. The problem is as I continue, as I told you, just now, the structural problem of the opposition parties. Then, always the PKR depends on the charisma of the one person, Anwar Ibrahim. Then, but he is not the democratically elected in the PKR's elections. But he used the unofficial powers inside the PKR. His wife is the president. Then, but he used his wife from the backside.
Do you think his wife is a puppet, or do you think that his wife is actually would be ruling Selangor if she's to be the Menteri Besar of Selangor?
If his wife, the one Aziza, becomes the Menteri Besar, so it's very indirect rule, right? So the Menteri Besar is controlled by the other persons. This is not healthy for the democracies. So democracies have to be institutionalized, and then the democracies have to be led by the persons who are elected by the people.
Just so to give you a background of Barisan Nasional, they also, I'm not sure if they go through a democratic process in order for them to choose their leaders. But at the same time, if you see throughout the years, they have been very, very strong in terms of ensuring allegiance towards the leadership, and as well as to ensure that they control the majority of the population, and also in terms of the seats in the parliament. So how can, where you claim that the Pakatan Rakyat or the PKR itself do not have a strong structure without having a democratic system, when Barisan Nasional itself do not have a democratic system and is able to ensure a strong grip towards its own party members?
Actually, from the beginning, I don't criticize the PKR or opposition parties because I can understand. So the PKR is very the PKR doesn't have any histories just for 10 years or 15 years since established, right? So the democratic system inside the political parties is immature. I mean, the PKRs are political structure is immature. So but the BN and the UMNO has a histories since the independence, more than 50 years. So their system is very institutionalized.
So are you saying that time is the major factor of PKR unable to ensure a stronger structure, I suppose?
Yes, one of the important key factor is time. Then but another problem is we cannot find the other candidate to lead the opposition parties or PKR except Anwar. So inside the PKR, the other candidate to lead the parties have not yet grew up.
They said that having one Aziza as the Menteri Besar, it would be a neutral, uniting factor among all political parties, and as well as gaining the trust of fellow Malaysians or Selangorians. Would you agree with that?
But the past or Nick Aziz as criticizing or he dislikes the one Aziza, right? Because she is woman. Yes.
And also they claim that because she has her menses or menstruation cycles, she might not be fit to do certain duties of Menteri Besar, as in, for example, accompanying the Sultan in religious event or official formal events.
The solution is I think so that Anwar should lead with the official positions.
What kind of official position that you think
the
Anwar...
Menteri Besar the positions or the president.
Should he be elected via a democratic system, or should he elect? I mean,
inside
should he
the party democratic system, party elections? But very unhealthy. So the unofficial powers is influence to the party members. So the Malaysian politics too depends on the charisma persons, charisma persons.
One of the factors that hinders Anwar Ibrahim to hold official position is because of his sodomy charges. And I think today we have another one, sodomy charges by Saiful.
Yes.
He want to charge for a defamation suit against Anwar, which will have another cycle of court cases, a court case for him.
Yes. That's very unfortunate for the Malaysian politics. So the Anwar cannot lead because of the court fighting, right? Then, but another problem is, as I told you, so there is no alternative persons to lead the PKR or even the Pakatan Rakyat, except Anwar.
I want to give a scenario where Khalid Ibrahim is at the winning end, meaning that he expelled all the state assembly men that he thinks are of Anwar camp, and he ensured that he has a strong support. Let's say he did have a strong support from other state assemblymen. How do you think PKR should strategize themselves in order for them to regain back their confidence, especially by the people?
So far, so the PKR, so the many people disappointed to the PKR, right?
Yeah, the view are very mixed right now.
Yes.
Of course, people who are still loyal to PKR will believe to the corruption allegation, whether it's true or not, they should be decided by the court. But at the same time, there are people who are quite skeptical with the process that is going on. I mean, for example, if it's true the corruption on the corruption charges, why they are not going through MACC? If they don't trust the MACC, but why now? Why not? Prior to this.
Why now?
He has been the Menteri Besar since 2008.
Yes.
People have put their trust, and he has no scandals or any other allegation towards this prior to the 91 pages, if I'm not mistaken, it's 91 pages of the corruption charges
Yes,
or allegation.
Was claiming Khalid Ibrahim's government is clean, but why now the problem is?
But what if the corruption charges is true? What is actually the motive of PKR then?
Motive is very simple. So that just kick out the Menteri Besar Khalid Ibrahim, right? It's a political the fighting and the struggles.
You mentioned earlier that Anwar cannot lead as just a de facto position.
Yes, position.
He has to have a de jure or a position that is legitimate in the eyes of everyone. If Anwar is the Menteri Besar, would it make a lot of changes in terms of how PKR is run right now?
But actually, I understand. So that they try to in the Kajam move. So the PKR try to make the Anwar Menteri Besar, right? But they failed because of the other court issues, right? That's very unfortunate for the Malaysian politics. Always the leaders of opposition parties have some problems. Cannot lead directly.
Right now, when we talk about the PKR power structure, can you deconstruct their structure and pinpoint where is the weakness? Besides, like Anwar doesn't have a de jure position. Other than that, what else that is causing PKR their chances at winning the next general election?
So far, not only the problem is not only PKR. The problem is the Pakatan riot. The Pakatan riot, inside the Pakatan riot, the ideology is different, and then the many component parties are having the many issues of the different perspectives.
When you say different perspective, I always believe political party exists because they want to please their electorates.
Yes.
And in this case, it shows that Malaysians are very divided in terms of our electorates.
Yes.
Like some, I believe certain quarters of the political parties, regardless is opposition or government, they seem to be targeting their core supporters. Some are just Chinese community, some are just Indian, some are just Malay. Some are divided by classes, like some just focus on the rural areas and some in the urban areas, or some just, in Sabah and Sarawak.
Yes.
So how can they have a uniting factors when the electorate is divided?
The one factor is government change, of course. So the government change itself is important. Because since the independence, Malaysia never experienced the government change, like Japan. Japan also dominated only one party's LDP. Its government change itself is very symbolic. So the people can understand we can change the government and encourage or giving encourage the people. People have the power to change the situations. That's important. I don't know. So even after the government change happened, the opposition party or PKR maybe fail, as we see in Japan or Taiwan also.
Yeah, Taiwan right now is at a very interesting period in terms of their democracy.
Yes.
They have students actually sitting in the parliament protesting against the government, which is unheard of, I think, in Southeast Asia on this kind of situation right now.
Yeah, actually, so the Taiwan and Japan, Malaysia have the common points. So for very long time, so the one party dominated, right? In case of the Taiwan, Kuomintang. Then so in case of the Japan, LDP, Malaysia, UMNO or BN. The government change is very symbolic. Then so even the government, the new government failed, people can understand. Then so the people can understand we have the power to change, and we can stand up. We can change. This impact is very big.
You mentioned that ensuring democracy or democratic processes within political parties, especially the opposition, is very, very vital. But I think one of the Achilles' heel is most probably, I would say, the political dynasty that is happening in the opposition party. I mean, of course, obviously is happening within the Barisan Nasional as well. So do you see anything changing right now, with political dynasty in place, new, I would say new buds or new leaders that want to come out? It's very hard for them to actually be as stand out compared to those who are of an affluent sort of connection.
From the beginning, the phenomenon of the political dynasty is not only in Malaysia, in the globally. So this the situation is happening. You see in Japan, the current Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is actually the grandson of the previous Prime Minister. Then of course in Thailand also, and Indonesia also, in Philippines, so the current the president also the son of the president, right? Then but we can see the hope in Indonesia, right?
With Jokowi's election as the new president of Indonesia.
Very interesting.
It's a very interesting development in Indonesia, partly because you would never expect Indonesia being prior to this a dictatorial country, and a country that was governed by by two prominent leaders, which is Sukarno and also Suharto. And they only have, I would say, only the last 10 to 15 years of democracy. And now they already have Jokowi, which has virtually no political connection with any of the elitists. This
year's Indonesians the development is very important. So even after the Suharto's the fall, so Indonesian politics are dominated by the oligarch. So the someone who has the powers or political dynasty dominate the Indonesian politics the 10 or 15 years after the democratizations. But this year's the development, the Jokowi elected, as you told me, so the Jokowi didn't have any the political dynasty or political background. This is a hope for the Southeast Asian politics. Political dynasty, without political dynasties, the normal guy can elect as a president.
We will have a short break, but when we return, we will discuss more on the way forward on how PKR or Pakatan can strengthen their power structure.
The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene. We are continuing back our discussion with Iga or Tsukasa. Iga?
Yes. Just call me Iga.
So Iga is a researcher at the Center for Southeast Asia Studies, and he earlier on our discussion focused more on the power structure within the opposition party, political dynasty, and the situation on the Selangor Menteri Besar crisis right now. Continuing with our discussion, I guess for me personally, I'm more interested in the way forward, considering that it is important to ensure a more democratic system within our political our political processes, and one of it is to ensure that both opposition and the current government, which is Barisan Nasional, have equal sort of strength in terms of the way they push for policy, the way they compete for influence, and also for the way they map out what is their future vision for Malaysia, and also for the state that they are ruling. So focusing on Selangor right now, in your own personal view, what if the scenario of either Khalid wins or Wan Aziza to replace Khalid Ibrahim as the next Menteri Besar? How can PKR strengthen its power structure and ensure that it's no longer, being questioned by the public whether it is a legitimate, it is a legitimate political party that people can choose for the next election as a strong, viable opposition party.
My opinion is that even the one agenda becomes the Menteri Besar, the crisis going on. Because
why is going on?
Because still the one agenda is the kind of the puppet of the Anwar Ibrahim, right? Then Anwar the influence the powers influence to the one agenda indirectly. So we need the new leaders to lead the or Malaysians need new leaders. Opposition party need new leaders to lead the PKR or PR.
Hold on with that thought. There are people that I spoke to who believe that Wan Aziza is a capable person to lead Selangor on her own without her husband being behind her. So with your claim on her being the puppet of Anwar, what is the justification on that?
So the give chance to Wan Aziza. But the structural problems is still going on. So the PKR depends on the charisma of the Anwar too much, right? So we need, or the Malaysians needs, so the new leaders to lead the opposition party. A new generation have to take the powers inside the PKR. So far, so the except Anwar, so who can lead the political parties?
Besides her wife, right? His wife, sorry.
Yeah, his wife. Okay, but his wife also so the old generations. I mean the so-called reformasi generations. So in 30 or 40s, I expect these generations to lead the countries.
We see that PKR has huge problem when it comes to choosing people that do not have as much, I would say, allegiance towards the party. We saw that in the early 2000s with Raja Petra, and then later on during the vice president election with Khalid Ibrahim.
Yes.
Why is that so? And also the question about Azmin Ali in PKR itself. What is your view on that?
Yeah, Azmin Ali. Yeah, just I know I'm not. I don't know well about the inside the power structure of the PKR, but so according to some of the members, Azmin Ali is very good used to the managing the political parties inside. I mean the PKR. Then so as you told me, so the problem is of the PKR is the PKR faced many times. So the problems like Zahid and the Rajaputra also because the PKR is still new parties. They are struggling. So we have to understand. Still, this party is new parties. So, but the problem is that we cannot find the other leaders except still the PKR depends on the charismatic leaders.
Interesting. Looking forward to the future, continue back with your answer regarding on how PKR and also I think PR in general can solidify their power structure. I think you mentioned something about just now on ensuring there are new generation of leaders taking over the role of leadership within PKR, DAP and PAS. What about other key areas that they need to focus on in terms of building and strengthening the party?
The point is whether PKR can unite or not to change the government. So of course, inside the PKR, inside the PR, DAP and the PAS has a different perspective and a different opinion in the Islamic State, and then other issues also. But they have to understand that to change the government is they have to understand. So the priority is change the government to for the democratic the Malaysia. There are many corruptions, and then the scandals happen in Malaysia. Why the scandal and the corruption happening is one reason is actually the weakness of the opposition party or monitoring of the other the civil societies or opposition parties, and then government change never happened. So for the democratic Malaysia, the priority is at first to change the government.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Japan also never experienced the government change. During that time, corruption happened many times, so the scandal also. But if people understand we can change the government, the situation maybe change.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the PKR pass, then DAP have to understand the priority is at first unite to change the government.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they have their own opinions.
Mm-hmm. So unity should put as the top priority
Yes.
for those who really want to lead PKR, DAP or PAS. Other factors should be discussed after they get their seat on Putrajaya, I bet.
Yeah, maybe so. We can see the Japanese case also. So the Japanese DPJ, Democratic Party of Japan, after taking the government, so the many conflict or messy situations happened. So yeah, it's correct. So the taking the Putrajaya first is the important. But slowly, so they have to discuss. Need a space to discussions, right? So the PR in these 5 years, they develop the space for discussions, and then so they unite and make the common manifest. This is very big development, huge development for the Malaysian politics. Yeah, Malaysian politics direction is going to the right directions for the democracy of the Malaysia, democratization of the Malaysia.
Yeah.
But still maybe need time.
Time is a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I think with time, the opposition party definitely will increase themselves in terms of strength, in terms of experience as well. But on the meantime, when it comes to the Menteri Besar Selangor crisis, I think more focus for PKR members, more focus should be put on trying to build their strength from within rather than try to just I don't know, but to me they shouldn't dwell too much with the crisis and focus more on building their internal strength.
You mean the power struggle, right? So the taking own powers inside the parties.
So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.